Hey everybody, what's going on? Helmlight here, bringing you another video from Grab the Lantern today. Today I wanted to talk about prestige skins and kind of cover the sort of origins and why there's a controversy nowadays and what my general impressions are on the concept of prestige skins and how Riot are going about marketing them. Now, first and foremost, prestige skins were initially a one-off thing that Riot started with Prestige Kaisa, or Prestige KDA Kaisa, I should say. And that was during the Worlds event where basically if you amassed 2,500 Worlds tokens, which was essentially impossible to do unless you also paid for the Worlds Pass, you could earn enough tokens to purchase the KDA Kaisa Prestige Edition, which is basically a golden version of Kaisa. Now, it does have its own unique splash art and its own unique particle effects, so it does warrant consider being called maybe not a full skin in its own right, but let's say about 75% of a full skin. It doesn't change anything about the default appearance or any of the sound effects, but it did give you cool golden particle effects. There was a new model for the character, etc., etc. Now, when Riot initially announced the Prestige KDA Kaisa, they made a post basically saying that they wanted to find a way to bring back the flair of having rare and hard to get skins without also locking players out of interacting with that skin at all. So, for example, Young Rise is a skin that is barely ever seen nowadays because there weren't a lot of people playing the game back in the day, and there aren't a lot of people with who can even get that skin anymore. I mean, it's no longer on the market. There is no possible way to buy Young Rise. So it's basically never ever seen. And unfortunately, if you're a Rise main, you got into the game maybe this season, maybe last season, and you realize, oh, Young Rise is a skin, that looks really cool. Well, too bad, you can never ever get that skin. And that feels kind of bad. So the idea behind Prestige is that it is supposed to allow players to still interact at least with the base skin. So if I join the game, let's say a couple years from now, and I say, oh, Prestige KDA Kaisa looks really cool, but unfortunately I can never get it, at the very least I could buy the regular KDA Kaisa and at least maybe sort of have the same experience. That at least is the intended reasoning behind the Prestige skins. Now, a big part of it is that they're supposed to be hard to obtain. They're not supposed to be super easy for everyone to get. That's the whole point of them being rare skins in the first place. If everyone can get the skin, then it kind of ruins the value of having this supposedly rare skin, and that kind of sucks, especially for the people who really spent time grinding token after token after token during events. So the initial two versions of the Prestige skins that Riot executed on the KDA Kaisa and KDA Akali, who they did during the winter event, I think generally people said were executed okay. Obviously, having to grind tokens was not a whole lot of fun because, especially if you lost a game, then you got set back because you weren't earning tokens for that game. And in general, there was a lot of frustration about it, and there was a lot of things about it that just people weren't a big fan of. But it was still possible to get these highly sought after skins, as obviously KDA was already very big and people really like these champions, so being able to get a really super cool, unique skin for them is something that people really liked. And hopefully, if you're the one who really spent the time grinding, you felt that it was worth it, you already had the skin, you love the champion, you're willing to put in the time. I hope that nobody who grinded the skin and is currently complaining about doing so is someone who didn't really want the skin in the first place, because then why would you have gone through all that effort? However, the announcement of Prestige Blood Moon Aatrox, I think, is the real thing that have gotten people really irked with Riot. See, Prestige Blood Moon Aatrox comes with an additional announcement where Riot are saying he's going to be part of a yearly Prestige skin cycle that Riot are going to be making, which basically means that the skin will be available for the entire year as opposed to just the one-off event, which is great news because it means that you have an entire year to try and get this skin. Now, part of the problem with this, though, is that the only way to obtain this skin, because there isn't an event, there aren't tokens you'll have to earn, is that you have to be able to buy it with prestige points, which currently only come from bundles. So basically, if you buy a bundle of other stuff, you get some additional prestige points on the side. And if you amass enough of these prestige points, eventually you can maybe purchase a yearly prestige skin like the Blood Moon Aatrox. Now, part of the current problem with this is that if we look at the current bundles that Riot have available, the only way to earn prestige points at the moment right now, there is a 750 RP bundle that includes the bundle, of course, which I don't really want to break down the exact contents because it's irrelevant to the topic of conversation, but you do get some other goodies on top of it. I believe it's a Blood Moon capsule, and then also 4 prestige points, which if you need 100 to unlock the current Prestige Blood Moon Aatrox, that would take you a long time and a lot of money, because 750 RP is, I want to say, roundabouts $10 right now. I don't know exactly how much it is, but it is a pretty substantial amount, a pretty substantial chunk of change right now in order to get enough, because that's 4 points per bundle. It's 750 per bundle. That's quite a bit of bundles you're buying. However, you can also get a different bundle, which I believe comes with something like 9 Blood Moon capsules and 40 prestige points, but that comes for 6,750 Riot points. I don't even want to do the math on that, but that is possibly, I want to say that's around $50, maybe $60 or so of RP. I know that it gets a little bit, the more money you spend, the better value you get on your Riot points, but suffice it to say, it's around that much. Now, at those values, you would have to buy 3 of those, which would put your total purchase to around, let's say, $140, $150 to be on the generous side. That is a lot of money to be spending on this game just for a prestige skin. And I think the biggest problem a lot of people are having with it is that, unlike the capsules or the KDA prestige versions, where it was event based, and sure, it was pretty much impossible to hit 2,500 tokens without putting money down for the pass, which was like $10 or so, I want to say. I don't remember exactly how much, but I want to say it was around $10. And then you weren't even guaranteed. You had to grind up. But that at least you could work for it. It was hard to get, but there was a way to get it for mostly free, let's say. $10. Okay, I spend $10 and I get this sort of second version of this skin that I really like and really enjoy. Okay, cool. Well, that could be fine. Now, the problem with the Aatrox skin, though, is that there is no option to even attempt to earn it free. You can't tell yourself a beautiful lie like you could with KDA Akali, for example, that, well, if I just am really, really consistent with all the quests, eventually I'll get enough, and if I don't, that's fine, I'll buy something else with it, right? You can't even tell yourself that beautiful lie with Blood Moon Aatrox. It's essentially, do you want to spend $140 over the course of the year and eventually unlock it? There is no possible way to discount that. There is no way to get it cheaper. There is no way to even consider maybe being able to get it for free. That is an impossibility. It's not going to happen. And I think that is the biggest disappointment a lot of people are having, is that there is no possible way for you to get the skin without just dropping a fat chunk of change on the game, especially because it's not like you're paying for content that you necessarily even want. So for example, if this was just buying skins, then maybe I buy a couple skins throughout the year, and just because it's for champions I want, or I happen to really like the skin theme or something along those lines. And then by the end of the year, I've somehow amassed enough prestige points to be able to buy a prestige version of maybe a skin that I've previously purchased. Well, that's pretty cool, and I could maybe work for that. But the bundles means that you're essentially buying randomized content. You don't know what you're going to get. You're not guaranteed to get anything in particular. You're essentially gambling and hoping that by buying these bundles, you get something that you want, and then you're really hoping that eventually it gets you the prestige skin. Now, that's really disappointing, and I think you can kind of understand why there are a lot of people who are upset with it. And in all honesty, I'm not a fan of this particular approach from Riot. I think the tokens was a fine lesson. Sure, you pretty much had to buy the pass if you wanted to get the Prestige Edition, but at least it was kind of possible, like I was talking about before. But with this, there isn't really any way to do it, and no one is going to buy that many bundles unless they absolutely want the Aatrox skin. But even then, $140 is a lot to charge for the skin, especially because you have to have the base skin on top of that. So essentially, you need to be rolling these Blood Moon capsules, really, really hoping that you get the Blood Moon Aatrox inside of one, because that would save you some money. If not, then you have to buy that on top of it. And then you can have your really super rare skin, which is essentially just a golden colored version of that same skin. Now, obviously, there are change particle effects. It looks slightly nicer than the previous one. It has its own splash art, so maybe all of that makes it worth it for you. But I don't know that any skin in this game is worth $140. I really don't. So, and especially just the concept, I think, is ruined by the fact that Riot are making it so that you have to be purchasing things. You have to just drop, a bunch of money on it. What I would like to see, and I kind of alluded to this earlier when I was giving an example, would just be prestige points being either an occasional gain from buying other things in the shop potentially, because this clearly wants to be another revenue stream for Riot. I think that is a very obvious way to look at prestige skins, which does make sense. I've talked about this previously, but when Riot changed the rune system, they really did hurt their bottom line. They weren't able to get nearly as much currency from people because people could save all of their blue essence for champions rather than for runes that they needed to be competitive, because everyone has every rune, right? So I think at the end of the day, it does kind of make sense for why Riot would want to try and find another revenue source, and the Prestige skins, I think, was a good way of going about it because it did give players sort of that rare skin moment back into the game. At the end of the day, though, I think that this sort of execution is a little wonky, and I don't really like it so much. So like I was saying, if you maybe buy, every time you buy, let's say a 1350 skin or higher, you get, let's say, even 10 Prestige points. That would feel a lot better, I think, for a lot of players, because sure, maybe you aren't planning on buying all of this random content and sifting through it afterwards, but like I said before, maybe there are a couple of skins every year that you want to get for champions that you play or main, or just a new skin line comes out and you're really excited for it, so you buy all the skins for it, and you're able to slowly amass enough that maybe you have it by the very end. Now, this is a far cry from what it could be, which is the current situation where you have to buy randomized content, and then that's the only possible way. Another way of doing it is just let players buy prestige points. Or maybe they can only buy so much per month, and then you have to save it, and then as you come out with more prestige skins, then that sort of competes for players' attention. So it sort of behooves them to spread it out a little bit more, maybe say, well, I'm going to buy the prestige points this week because maybe next month they're going to really announce a new prestige skin that I'm really going to want, and I don't want to miss out on getting my prestige quota this week, so to speak. Something like that even could be a slightly better way of doing it, but I think the current iteration leaves a lot to be desired, and I know there are a lot of people who agree with me. Anyways, I've rambled on way too much. This is not that complicated of a topic, so I'm going to go ahead and shut up now. But let me know what you guys are thinking of the Prestige Edition skins, how Riot are handling the Blood Moon Aatrox situation, or if you have any suggestions for how Riot could do it better. Let me know all of that down in the comment section below. Would love to hear your guys' thoughts. If you enjoyed today's video, go ahead and leave a like, and if you really enjoyed today's video, consider subscribing. I upload a video every Monday, Friday, and on patch days as well. And if you're looking for Grab the Lantern content, you can check out my blog, which is linked down in the description. I upload an article just about each and every single day for your enjoyment. Once again, thank you guys so very much for watching. I do appreciate it, and I will talk to you all later.